Hey folks, Bishop here, Do It Then Outdoors. We got a great series coming your way. We're going to teach you everything you need to know about saddle hunting ropes, saddle hunting knots, whether it be tethers or lineman's belts. We're going to go through the whole process, how to cut the rope, how to cap the ends of the rope and seal them with either heat shrink tubing, electrical tape, or even whipping the ends of the ropes. We're going to go through various stopper knots and various hitches like the distal, the canute, and several others, and the old traditional prusik knot. We're also going to go through how to put the tethers together, how to put the lineman's belts together, and I'm going to even include a special video on creating a nice prusik tender or a hitch tender using 550 cord and some rings we found on Amazon. It looks really cool and it works really well. And then last but not least, we'll take it outside and show you how it all works and show it that it works really well, and it'll give you an alternate option to using the mechanical devices such as the Kong duck or the Mad Rock or anything like that. So I've been using the 11mm rope from Tethered, but I'm going down to 8mm rope, and I'm going to use 6mm rope for my hitches. So I'm excited about this small rope. Stay tuned. We're going to have great videos for you, and can't wait. I'm very excited about this. I've been wanting to do it for a while now. So.
All right, let's go over all the supplies we'll be using. Starting from left to right, I've got Sterling Oplux 8mm rope. This is used for tethers and lineman's belts. I've got Sterling TRC 6mm rope. I'll use this for prusik knots, any type of hitches, distal hitch, Swabish hitch, the newt, whatever you want to use. I like to use this for hitches. This is 5.5mm Beal Kevlar rope. It's also used for hitches. I've got some 550 cord, just a good general all-purpose use. I'll use it later on to show you how to make a hitch tender or a prusik tender. I've got some just regular small nylon cord from your local hardware store or Home Depot. This is used for whipping the ends. Similarly, for the ends, we can use some 1/2-inch heat shrink tubing, 3-to-1 heat shrink. I use this for my 8mm ropes. For the smaller ropes, anything less than 8mm, I use the 3/8-inch heat shrink tubing, 3-to-1, so it goes with that. Of course, we need a little pair of pliers, a tape measure. I have this paint scraper. I use it to kind of smush down the heated ends. Some fresh razor blades and a razor blade, a box cutter blade for cutting rope. Scissors. Most importantly, you want to have this electrical tape. And then we have a lighter and heat gun to heat shrink and melt the ends. So that's all the gear we're using, all the supplies. So let's get started. So the first rope I'm going to go over is just your regular 550 cord. And you can see how this stuff wants to come out the end. So if you just grab from the and pull down, it should seal some of that off. Now, one thing you can do with this rope is, they always say wrap everything in electrical tape, but with 550 cord, I find that I can just take a pair of scissors and cut it, kind of pinch it there, pull back a little bit, make sure I got it pulled tight to get all of that rope back in there. And then I'll just take a lighter and I'll seal it off just like this. And you'll get to see what my metal spatula's for, my little metal. And that piece is sealed. That's how you do 550 cord. You can also wrap it in electrical tape to make it a little more secure. But there's 550 cord. All right. So the next one we'll talk about is this Kevlar rope. It's tough. It's very tough to cut. So if I was cutting a piece off the end here, what I would do is I would wrap it very, very tight in electrical tape, probably for about 1 inch or 2, probably 2 inches. Just keep going around and around. Now, I'll peel it off, and then I would take my razor blade wherever I want to cut it. I like my hitches, my hitch ropes, which are the 6mm TRC and the 5.5mm Kevlar rope. I like these to be anywhere from 3.5 to 4 feet. I prefer 4 feet so I can tie good stopper knots. But what you can do here is just kind of take it and go back and forth until you got it. Now, you can actually stop right here. You can finish. This could be it for you. But another thing you could do, and you have to be careful here, but we can take off the electrical tape. And the inside of this rope is Kevlar, but the outside is kind of like a nylon. So what I can do is take a piece of electrical tape to seal this Kevlar really, really well. And then I can cut that Kevlar down the middle, about right there. And then like I did with the 550 cord, just grab and pull very hard. Now that Kevlar is in here. So I can take my scissors here and kind of trim it back. And then I can burn this nylon back. See, I'm going to take my metal and just kind of tap it. Now with that said, I like a little bit of extra. So I'm going to take some of this 3/8 inch tubing and cut probably about that much, inch or so. And then you can put this on here, just like that, with the end overhanging just a little bit. I'll pull it right back in there. And I'll take my heat gun on low and let it rip. Then very quickly, I'll take my metal piece and push down very hard. Be mindful, don't burn your hands, but you can see that that is sealed very, very well. And when it cools, it's there. So that's basically how to heat shrink. Very, very effective. It works well on the Sterling TRC as well as the Sterling Oplux. Obviously with the Oplux, you're going to use the 1/2 inch heat shrink tubing. But this works very well because the Sterling Oplux and the Sterling TRC, they do not like to burn. They do not, they don't melt very well. So you need to use something like heat shrink tubing or whipping the end. So now I'm going to show you how to whip the end. And for this one, I'm actually going to whip the end and heat shrink tube it because I like the way it looks. So I accidentally made a hitch too long. I think it's like 4.5 feet or something, and I want to cut it back to 4 feet. Because I like to have about 10.5 to 11 feet of Sterling Oplux, and that'll get you with all of your stopper knots and tying the knots around the carabiner. That will get you to about 8 foot, which is what, Tethered and most of these other companies are selling, 8-foot tethers and 8-foot Lineman's belt. So I cut this Sterling 8mm Oplux at about 11 feet, anywhere from 10 3/4 to 11 feet. You could probably go 10.5 too if you want to go shorter. Some people like shorter tethers and shorter Lineman's belts, but I'm going to stick with 11 feet. We won't be cutting this today because it's the same as cutting the Sterling TRC 6mm rope. So what I have is I have a piece that I accidentally cut too long. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to show you how to cut it and how to whip the end. So stay tuned. So once I finish this piece is going to look similar to this. It's going to have a heat shrink cap and the orange whipping. But I'm going to measure it out because, like I said, I cut it too long. Okay, so that's at my 4 foot mark. So I'm going to take, like I said, a piece of electrical tape and go very tight around the rope, because a lot of people like to leave the electrical tape on. I'll take make me just a little mark there and keep going this way. You know, I probably did a little much, but you can go about 2 inches. So my mark's about right here. So I'm just going to take my sharp knife, just like this, and cut straight through it. Now, with that said, I could probably just, I know I could just use the electrical tape. You can see it's sealed very well. You could probably put a piece of electrical tape around the end. But I like to whip it, and I like to use the heat shrink cap. So I'll take the and you can see here, this stuff does not really like to burn at all. So I'm going to get a piece of this, another piece of this heat shrink tubing, like so. Get it fed in there to where it's just close to the very end, but not quite. Probably 1/4 of an inch from the very end. And we'll grab the old heat gun and get it going. Take our piece of metal and just seal the end just like that. Push that piece down that's kind of lumped out. And that end cap is on there. Not going anywhere. So now we'll whip the ends, which looks like this. You can actually do a whipping by itself, and I can show you right here. You could do the whipping on top of the tape or not. But you're just going to need a little strand of nylon. And I'll go ahead and just burn the ends real quick so that it doesn't unravel on me. That one's already burnt. So what you'll do is make a loop like this. However far down you want to whip it. I'm not going to go too far. So I will hold that loop just like that. And then you want to start at the top of the rope and just start going around. Once you get a few times, like a few wraps like this, then you can straighten this out. And you can push it more toward the end, but keep it tight. And just wrap all the way around. Try not to overlap. Just like that. And if this is as far as I want to go, you'll feed your loop through the end just like that. And grab both of these and pull tight. Snug it up very tight. Sometimes you even need to take pliers. Now you can clip the end here and melt this back really good because it's nylon, so it will melt back. And take and push. Similarly with this side. I'll clip there, melt this back. And then I'll kind of run the lighter around the whole thing and it'll shrink it up really well. It's a very good method. Very easy. Now I'm going to show you one more time with this one that is already sealed with an end cap, because I just like the way it looks. So I'll do this one very short. Cut a piece. Make sure both ends are sealed, so it just makes it a lot easier to feed through. Make your loop here, and then start wrapping. I'll show you again, just easy peasy. I'm gonna just go with that little bit and start wrapping right behind the plastic or the rubber heat shrink, and I'm gonna push it up so it's nice and snug against it, and then wrap tight. Pull this loop kind of together like that, and just keep wrapping. We get close to the end. I'm going to feed it through the loop, get it tight, and this is where, you know, sometimes you may take some pliers and pull really tight, just like that. Get it snug up in there. It'll actually pull the loop in there. I may not even snug it up enough on the other one, but it'll hold. I mean, this thing holds very well. So similarly, burn it back. You see how it's flat right there? That's not coming out. Same thing on this side. I'll burn it back really well, and then I'll just go around it. And I'm gonna just play with this just real quick. Try to get a little flatter in. But if I don't, it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. But this rope now is ready. I mean, it's sealed, it's ready. So that's how to whip. You know, burning the tips of the 550 cord, which is very easy. How to cut the rope and heat shrink the ends. Very, very easy. You can get the heat shrink tubing on Amazon and the nylon and stuff from your local hardware store or Home Depot.
Hey folks, so I hope you enjoyed that first part. We've got several more parts coming your way. I hope you learned a lot from how to cut the rope and how to seal the ends of the rope. So if you like the video, smash the like button. Hit us up on Instagram and Facebook. And we'll see you next time for part 2 on how to make stopper knots. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Do it then.